From the Channel Seed Studios, welcome to The Hook. A look behind the lines with Mike Palm and Ken Miller. Powered by Circa Sports Iowa. Sports betting the way it should be. This is Iowa Everywhere.
And hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode here of The Hook. My name is Ken Miller from Des Moines Sports Station, 106.3 KXNO. My partner is Mike Palm, Vice President of Operations at Circa Sports. Well, we're down to the Final Four in the men's and women's. We will get into that. We only have two more divisions to look at when it comes to baseball. Some of the things we're looking forward to, and that's the Western Division, and both the American and the National League is the words play ball will be uttered throughout the country here getting started on Thursday. Mike Palm, good to see you again. I saw you a lot this weekend as the Iowa Everywhere team made their way out to Circa and then over to see you at the D from time to time. Thank you for once of all for the hospitality. You never disappoint, you and the team out there.
Thanks, Kenny. I hope you enjoyed the suite at Circa. You got to see two of them. You got to see the hospitality suite as well, and it was nice seeing all the guys. We ran into a bachelor party coincidentally on Friday night. That was all Iowans from Ankeny and Des Moines and Dubuque, and so it was a real fun weekend.
Yeah, I wish I would have been a part of that. I don't know where I was on Friday night, but I'd love to have seen that group of people. I know where I ended up on Friday night. That was at 8 East. I was there 3 nights. I ate at 8 East twice, and I went to Barry's Steakhouse on Saturday night. And I couldn't get into Andiamo's at the D, which is a phenomenal place. And just goes to show you, if you've got that on your list, make sure you get your reservation far enough in advance because it continues to build the momentum. Let's start with the D, Mike. We'll get back to Circa in a minute before we get into going inside the numbers and behind the lines, etc. The D, when was that Derek's second purchase on Fremont? I know you have the Golden Gate, the D, and obviously built Circa. What was the order? What's the chronological order?
Yeah, he bought into the Golden Gate in 2007, 50% ownership. Of course, now he has 100% ownership. And then he tried to buy Fitzgerald's in 2009 from Don Barden. Barden subsequently passed away, and he ended up buying it from his estate in 2011. Officially, I believe November 1st, 2011, he took over ownership. And then in early March of 2012, he rebranded it to the D. And then, of course, the Circa project really began with the monopoly gathering of real estate and all that in 2015, but opened in October of 2020.
As I was watching some of the games in the room, waiting for the family to leave, on the coffee table, there was a book, a Circa book, kind of the history. The plans were drawn on the napkins. Remember the guy that invented, Jim Foster was the name, who invented arena football. He did it on the back of a napkin. I'm not sure it was a napkin that Derek was using, but then it's got pictures of the hotel and the property as it was being built. Saw your mug in there a number of times as I was flipping through it, but quite a story how Circa came to be.
The design process is quite amazing, Ken, and we chose Steelman Partners as our architect. And so the management team would go to Steelman Partners on Wednesday afternoons. We'd meet there at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. And we had to move it earlier to 3 o'clock because the meetings would go into 10, 11, midnight. And this went on for 3 years, Kenny, every Wednesday. I think the Wednesday before Thanksgiving might have been the only Wednesday we didn't meet all year long. And, I think it took us 8 months just to design the porte cochere, and the valet. Sure. And, it ends up the Garage Mahal has a lot of that. But I think there were 6 different designs for the pool. One of them had really like 2 pools. One was way up high. One was like 3 stories lower. And there was an adult pool, a kid's pool. And then, when we made the decision just to go all over 21 and over, that went out the window. So you didn't need to separate really kind of a resort pool from an adult pool. But every time you move something 6 inches, it affects everything else. So
sure.
We finally got here. So, the design part is one thing, but operating it is to me is more fun.
Yeah, I look forward to getting to that in the weeks ahead because that's something that we've never talked about. So I look to get educated on that. Just the weekends themselves. So I know that the conference tournament is big. It was starting to gain momentum a few years ago. Like nothing is going to, I don't think, ever supplant the first 2 days of the tournament. I think Thursday and Friday are just in a league of their own. I know that you last year, Mike, you told Trent and I on the radio that you wanted to try and build up Sweet 16, Elite 8 weekend into bigger than what it was. Of course, you had the regional final in Las Vegas this past weekend, but is it growing to the extent that you thought that it would, or can it even get bigger? Because looking around Circa, it was full.
It was full. Friday was really good. Obviously, you had the 2 games Friday, and the people weren't at T-Mobile that came out for the weekend to see their team. So Friday was really good at Circa, rivaled a little bit of the first weekend, but that was the only day that did. It kind of waned down as Sunday went through. So, it'll be interesting. Well, the second weekend of the conference tournament and the second weekend of the tournament itself, how they're gonna grow and at what pace, and in 5 years, are we talking about one being a lot bigger than the other? I tend to lean towards the conference tournament. It's just a matter of numbers because as you winnow teams down, there's less.
Right.
There's just less people involved. It's just the drop off. People don't realize the drop off from Friday to Saturday the first weekend is significant.
Well, a perfect example of it, Saturday during the day, it was tough to get a spot. I watched it with you at the D,
Yeah.
and then went over later on at the night, and your people were taking down the stanchions at Circa because you had space cordoned off
Yeah.
for VIPs or whatever, and you just didn't need that space, so you let the public go into it. So it really does dwindle. So what will this weekend be like? Does Final Four and Championship Monday, does it bring people to town?
Not really. Saturday will be okay because of the semifinal games in the evening.
Yeah.
But we had Bet Bash over Final Four weekend last year, and I think that's helped fill it up because and now it'll be in August this year. So, no, not particularly. I mean, even national championship game on that Monday, a football on that that second Monday of the year. That single standalone game on a weekday doesn't do a tremendous amount. Unless it would be some real huge brand national. Now, maybe if San Diego State makes the championship game, you'll get that Southern California influence a little bit, come up and drive up for that, but or Michigan or Michigan State. But and Arizona might have done it. But if it's Florida Atlantic and UConn, I don't think so.
Yeah, you mentioned Bet Bash. It's funny. We're you've moved it to August, and I'm not sure this has crossed your desk yet, but it was apparently somebody was going to. We're trying to figure out when we're going to bring our people out to sign up for the contests, the Survivor and the Millions. So I think that was a part of the meeting. I'm not sure you were in it last weekend. It's when the Iowa folks are going to come out and sign up for that weekend. So little heads up just in advance that a little advance notice that it's coming. Well, speaking of coming, this weekend's coming. So let's talk about these games. Both the women and the men, because the women, obviously, the Hawkeyes are going to be a part of it. Mike, I watched the South Carolina game last night, their Elite 8 game last night. Admittedly, I'm into the Caitlin Clark story, but on radio, I've always played the hits, right? If you got an audience, look, if we get to a point where pickleball is something I have to talk about, I'll learn the rules and watch it. Iowa State are the women's basketball. Iowa State's been good under Fennelly, but this Caitlin Clark's a whole different story. So is South Carolina. South Carolina is an 11.5-point favorite. I'm guessing, Mike, my theory, and I'm going to run it by you, is they're sick of hearing about Caitlin Clark. This is the unbeaten team. This Boston gal from South Carolina is Caitlin Clark's main competition for Player of the Year in women's college basketball. Does Iowa have a shot in this game? What do they have to do?
Oh, she's probably got to score 50. I mean, it's really hard to score against this. The best defensive team in the country. Right. They're the most physical team. Gino Auriemma, they went up to UConn and beat UConn by 5. There's only 4 teams that stayed within 10 points of them. And the team that really only early in the year, Stanford probably had them beat at Stanford. And they went to overtime, and South Carolina won. Stanford had a double-digit lead in that game. I think, though, when they went up to UConn, they beat UConn by 5, and Oriema cried about the officiating and how black and blue his girls were. I think that was a real rallying call for South Carolina because, Don Staley came out and said for the last 20 years, they beat the shit out of us and we didn't say a word.
Right.
We beat them for 2 straight times and now the officiating's got to change, right?
Yeah.
I thought, and since then, no one's really come close to them at all. It'll be tough. It's just tough. The girl that in the paint for Iowa, they got a couple key buckets there in the first. Yeah, I don't know that she can compete in this game with those bodies down there. You know what I mean? It's just it's going to be tough, and they're just going to force the ball out of Clark's hands as much as they can. 11 and a half is a lot of points in a national semifinal game, and believe me, I thought 5.5 was too much to give Louisville. Iowa dominated that game after the first 4 minutes, so. I won't have a play on this game. Obviously, I'll be rooting for Iowa, but I think they're really up against it. I'd be shocked if they beat South Carolina.
Yeah, I'll be shocked if anybody does, regardless who wins the other one. Trent and I on the radio today, Mike, we started down a path and then realized, wait a second, we can't offer props on Iowa or Iowa State athletes. We were trying to come up with a points, assists, and rebounds number for Caitlin Clark. We thought that might do some business if somebody could. And then Travis Dvorak, who you're partnered at Wild Rose, sent me a text and said, fellas, we can't offer this in the state. Would that be popular to think, Mike, if indeed we could offer that?
Be an interesting number. She just come off of 63 or 64 if you combined them all the other night. That's the first in the history of either tournament, a 30-point triple-double. And then she got the 40 out. She got the 40, obviously. What would you put it at? I'd probably put it
clearly lower.
South Carolina teams in the 40s and 50s. So it's got to be mid-40s, maybe. Do you put it mid-40s? Is that high? I don't know.
I came up with 44.5.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm right there, mid-40s, I said. Yep. So it'd be interesting, though. I mean, I don't think she's going to have double-digit assists.
No.
So she's going to have to score 30 probably to get to that number. But at least they didn't end up in a bracket with South Carolina, so they had a chance to make a Final Four.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Lisa Bluter, 23 years, she deserved to get to a Final Four. Did a great job at Drake.
Yep.
So came from Linn-Mar and all that, and a lot of Iowa stories there. Jan Jensen, obviously, remember from Elkhorn Kembleton and what she's done and recruited all these players and that. So I'm just really happy that women got to be there and they'll get to experience this Final Four. And hey, stranger things have happened, right?
That's why they play the game and they keep score. We shall see. Let's go to the men. Obviously, it's a different Final Four. Not that we didn't see this coming, right? In fact, before the tournament, I thought I didn't have a 1 seed getting out of the second weekend of the tournament. I thought probably, I'd be surprised if anybody gets the Elite 8. Well, here we are. It's a 4, a couple of 5s, and a 9 seed in Florida Atlantic. Let's do San Diego State, Florida Atlantic first. Obviously, the other game I would assume we'll see more betting action at the windows. What about this first game, Mike? Well, I mean, even television-wise, I know there's only 3 games left in the season for the men. Television-wise, what kind of interest is there in this? It is Final Four, after all.
Yeah, well, I just, the Florida, I think this is a huge story, especially in northern Florida, right? So, I think there's interest there. Plus, it's a big Cinderella. They would be the highest seed ever to win. And 8 has been the highest so far, and they're really an underseeded 9, though, right?
Yes.
I mean, team 31-3. We kept talking. This is a real team. They'd be a top tier Power 5 team. Where they really should have been probably seeded a 5 or a 6. They just keep getting. I was speculating on this line. How many points can you keep giving this team? And it ends up 1.5 here. So, I mean, they're sort of catching up. The market's sort of catching up to them. It's an interesting game. San Diego State doesn't bring a lot to the television audience because they don't have a big following in LA. It's very localized to San Diego. So, this team of Deutschers, it's interesting. I think they shoot better than any team he's had. They may not have been the best version of teams that he and Fisher have had through the years there, but I think they make those 18-foot shots at key moments in the game. When they get down 7, they get in. It looks like they're teetering. They hit a few shots and they get back in it, and then they're so tough on the boards. I had that Creighton future. I took San Diego State plus 2.5. I thought I had it set up beautifully. Creighton wins that game by 1 or 2. I win both ways, and little touch foul on the end, but so be it. I don't know how you can bet against Florida Atlantic in the first game, though.
Trent feels the exact same way. I do like San Diego State's defense, but I just hope it's a good game. So let me ask you, before we get your opinion on Miami and UConn. I have UConn at 15-1. I have Miami at 50-1 to cut down the nets. Obviously, winning this game gets. I've got a spot in the championship as far as my futures. What do I do here?
It's interesting. If UConn makes it, you'll be able to bet the other side at a pretty good plus price on the money line. If Miami makes it, it'll be a pick 'em game, probably close to either way, right? So,
do I just sit tight?
Maybe you.
That's how I'm leaning.
Maybe you take the points with Miami.
Grab 5.5.
Take 5.5 with Miami, because if Miami wins, you're in a little better spot. You can monetize the ticket better just because it's 3 times to 1, right? And it's not going to be a money line 3-1 plus.
No.
So you have a better position on Miami. Maybe you take the points with Miami. Otherwise, do nothing. I mean, you can't complain about where you're at.
No, I'm in a good spot.
You're going to have a team in the finals with a nice ticket.
The only complaint I would have.
Maybe I take whatever that difference is of what the payout is. So say one is the 2,000 and one is 4,000. Maybe I take 400 and take Miami in the points in that spot.
Yeah, in my range it would be 200, 400.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get your point. I get your
200
point.
and 400, then take $40 or something. If it's that, I just let it go though.
But Miami guard play so important. They've got 3 of them. Omir back. I'm rooting for Larinaga. I love the story. I mean, who doesn't want to see him? I'd love to see it. I like old guys having success. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this game?
UConn looks like the best team. They were the best team the first month of the year before they got into conference play. They rose up. Were they 1 or 2? Maul has them at 60-1 before the season. Wow. By the time he told me they were 21-1, I said, I'm not betting it at 21-1 when Maul had it. Then they went through that slump to start the conference, and I said, oh, Maul was – anyhow, they look unbeatable. I mean, they just no one's come to close. I mean, they're having a run in the tournament like that 2009 Carolina team did, where no one came within 12 points of them. I think St. Mary's 17 points is the closest game so far. I'd be surprised if they beat Miami by double digits, just because it's a veteran team and Larinaga is so good. But I was also shocked to come from 13 down to beat Texas when Texas has such good guards. You don't see that coming. Look, Chris Williams said something very interesting to me. These veteran teams that been there and done it before, they really don't turn it on till January, right in the season. They know it's about the tournament and that. And if you took this team from January on, Miami, they're a top 5, top 6 team in the country. So it's an interesting matchup here. I can't bet against UConn. The price at Circa for UConn to win it all is only a minus $1.25. I mean, that's, I think, the best bet on the board.
Yeah. Interesting. Who do you guys don't need of the 4 remaining? You in a good spot?
We don't want Miami. That's the only one.
That's the only one.
More and more people are betting UConn, so we probably want a team from the other side of the bracket. But Miami's the only 6-figure loser in the future market for us. A little bit San Diego State too, because the people that came the first couple weekends have bet them into the future market. So they're the second biggest, but not huge.
Gotcha. All right, let's want to talk some baseball. It is 48 hours or so away from opening day.
I'm excited for our Greg Maddox going to throw out the opening pitch here in 2 days, less than 48 hours.
That's
and
awesome.
We're going to have Josh Towers, former major league pitcher. He's going to catch it. VEASAN contributor, and going to have apple pies. We're going to have a hot dog cart. All moms drink free on Thursday in the sports book. So I'm going to give a little opening day speech, and Greg Maddox is going to promote his charity poker tournament for his charity, and then throw out the first pitch. All the news channels will be here, so maybe we'll start a tradition. Derek, we're so excited. Finally, all teams are playing on opening day, right? It's been COVID, and then they split in a late start, the labor stuff. Finally, we got it the way it used to be, where everybody's playing, and it's all spread out during the day. So maybe this can become a tradition at Circa Sports.
So have you built a mound for Maddox, a little riser?
I know the girls from marketing are talking with the 51s or the Aviators.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
to borrow the mound from them. We built a riser.
Yeah.
It's 85 feet, so it's an actual, 60 feet 6 inches.
Perfect.
We got the turf. Now we're just trying to borrow the mound for a few hours.
And you got a Hall of Famer coming to your place to throw out the opening pitch. One of the greatest to, boy, he painted corners, didn't he, in his career? Him and Glavin and Smoltz. What a 1-2-3. Avery.
I always thought, though, that Glavin got that advantage that they kept giving him further and further off the plate, more so than Maddox did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what a staff that was. Smoltz turned out to probably have the best stuff of any of them.
I agree. Yeah.
And then go from being a 20-game winner to being the most dominant closer for a while. I mean, what a career he had.
No, it's unbelievable. It's unheard of.
And postseason, right? I mean, the greatest postseason pitcher of all time, right up there with Whitey Ford.
How about that game in the Twin Cities? What was it, 91, I think it was? Braves Twins, when Jack Morris went 10, Smoltz goes 9, and Smoltz loses.
1-0.
1-0.
Yeah, right. They got the runoff Alejandro Pena in the 10th.
Good memory on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a pitching matchup that was.
There was a game he pitched. I'm trying to remember the year. Maybe it was 94, 95. It was a division game. They played the Dodgers, and I think it was game 1 in Dodger Stadium. And he pitched against Ramon Martinez, the older brother of Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro, yeah.
It was the most dominant. He gave up a run, Smoltz, but it was the most dominating stuff I've ever seen a pitcher have in a game. I think they won 2-1 or 3-1. But, I mean, the Dodgers couldn't put the bat on the ball. I think they got a bloop double or something and scored a run in the 4th or 5th inning. But I never saw a pitcher where they had no shot of making contact.
Yeah. Did he come in the Doyle Alexander trade?
Yes.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. Second thoughts there. All right, let's go to the West. You want to start in the American League out West, where the Houston Astros are a big favorite to repeat again. I'm going to try and play against them, Mike. I don't know why I am, because I like so many parts of this lineup. I mean, at the top, Valdez, we both love him. I'll tell you, kid, it's probably going to be 2 in their rotation. This Javier, he's really something. He had a great postseason last year. Where are you on the Astros? If not the Astros, I'll put it this way. If not Houston, whom?
Well, I don't know if you can play against them from a division perspective. They're going to be hurt a little early because Altuve, Brantley won't be in the opening day lineups. The rotation is strong. The bullpen is good. Their bullpen is deep. I mean, their bullpen ERA was like 2.3 last year. It was unbelievable. Every guy they brought out had an ERA under 2.5. So I look at the Angels and I just say, what did they do to help the starting pitching? There's just nothing there. I mean, if Rendon can turn it around, obviously the team gets a lot better. I blame him more than Ohtani. His fall off from the Nationals is significant. If this guy gets it together. But what have they done for the starting pitching? I mean, Tyler Anderson's their 3rd starter. Reed Detmers. I like Sandoval. He's gotten better, the lefty, every year. But it's Ohtani, Sandoval, and then what? So I look from a win perspective at the Rangers, 80.5. This is a pretty tough division. The A's are the worst team in baseball, but the other 4 are decent. 80.5, and your starting rotation, your top 4 are DeGrom, Eovaldi, Martin Perez, and John Gray. You got a good closer in Leclerc. I know the lineup gets thin after the top 3 or 4, but I'm wondering if that the Rangers over 80.5 isn't the play in this division.
I'm glad you said that, because I have one of those. The other one that I have in that division, I like the Mariners. And what's saying that, you get Luis Castillo for a whole year. He was by far the ace of the Reds, a horrible baseball team. I liked Logan Gilbert last year. 2 years ago, Robbie Ray was the Cy Young Award winner in Toronto. He had a terrible year last year. Gonzalez isn't bad. And obviously Julio Rodriguez is one of the young names that, if you don't know him now, within a couple of years, everybody's going to know him, because he's going to be one of the best players in baseball.
They had Colton Wong at the top. They had Teoscar Hernandez. The lineup's decent. They got some good power guys there. They do hit for power, that lineup. Sewald had a great year in the bullpen last year. The total's high. That's why I look. They're 87 and a
It's
half.
87.5, yeah.
In a decent division, other than the A's, you can make an argument for every other team. I just can't play against the Astros because I still think they're the best. They're still the best team. I mean, you could say that for the last 5 years, they're the best team in baseball. Cheating aside,
If they don't win the American League, who will? Toronto?
Derek,
Yankees?
crazy. He said, "Who's your World Series?" And I said, "Blue Jays, Padres."
That's what I said.
And he said, "Oh, he said he's got to relook at everything because he couldn't believe the Blue Jays pick." I said, "What
60 to 1.
Yeah, what don't you like about it? What don't
Nothing.
you like about it?" I don't think the Dodgers got any better.
No, they got worse.
They got worse.
Yes.
They got worse. So I like the Padres in that division.
Well, let's go to that division then, because I couldn't agree with you more. I think the Dodgers are in a bad spot this year. They're probably going to finish. The good news is the Diamondbacks, who are going to be better, and Colorado reside in that division. I don't know where the Giants are at this point. I don't expect much of them.
I do like Stripling, though. I like Stripling.
He's a good pitcher.
You send these Dodgers pitchers other places, they do very well. And he did. I thought he did well in Toronto.
He's great.
He's still a guy. You're only going to get 6 out of him, but he gives you quality starts, right? I mean, he's going to give you 5 or 6, 1 or 2 runs, basically. So he makes a difference. If Mania can do Logan Webb's a really consistent performer. They're going to have a lot of young guys. They're going to try to get through there. But these Giants, they're every other year they seem to strike gold, right? They're good, bad. So it's interesting. But I bet the Padres at plus 120 to win the division.
Okay. I bet him to win the World Series. They're double digits. Yeah. What kind of year does Soto have? Because he struggled when he came over from Washington.
It's interesting. They had Bogarts at the top. You still have Tatis. Poor Profar. He gets sent to Colorado to an awful team, right? Yeah. But the line
quick getting sent to Columbus.
Got a ton of protection around him. So I mean, he's got to be. He did which he didn't have in Washington. So he should flourish, right? It's a little tough for Hitters Park. It's better Hitters Park in Washington, but maybe you give him a full year, he pops out of it. I mean, a lot of people argue he's the best young under 25 player in baseball.
Yeah, so many guys. Grissom, didn't even talk about him. Machado, didn't talk about him. Here's one more. Aaron Nola, who I like behind the plate.
How about Kim? Kim just keeps hitting the ball a little better.
Well, and there's a reason. There's a reason Tatis, when he comes back, isn't going to play in the infield.
Yeah, but did you see him in the outfield? Did you see
hit and miss? So
wherever he goes, he's a liability. I just think they're a better team with Kim in the middle of the defense is important.
What in our final couple of minutes here, Josh Hader was not good when he first came over from Milwaukee. What kind of spring has he had? You keep up with the Padres. You have a relationship with Circa, with San Diego. What kind of spring has he had?
They're high on him. They think that they think he's going to be a sub 1.5 ERA guy again and save 45 games for him. They got some other guys throw heat. Pomerantz has been great in the bullpen. That Robert Suarez. Nick Martinez, they can start him. Lugo, they got a bunch of guys that are 6th, 7th, 8th inning guys, or those mid-range starters too. So he's got a lot of flexibility there with that pitching staff.
Going to be a fun season. It all starts Thursday, and if you're headed to Vegas, make sure you head over to Circa. So, what time will Maddox toe the rubber?
I'm going to speak at 9:40, then he's going to speak. So somewhere around 9:50. We're going to try to line it up. He throws the pitch, and then we hit a national anthem at like 10:02 from one of those opening games.
That's awesome. Radio schedule this week, you good with me? Because Trent's going to the Final Four, 10:05?
Yeah, I'm good for Friday.
Good stuff. That's going to wrap it up on The Hook. Thanks for being with us. If next time the crew from Iowa Everywhere is headed out to Circa, come on, tag along. You're going to be glad that you did. It's a phenomenal place to spend a weekend. Mike Palm, talk to you next. We'll talk to you on the radio. We'll see you next week on The Hook. And thanks for watching right here on Iowa Everywhere. We'll see you next time.